Hello, everyone. My name is Selvi Alabranova. I'm the social media head here at GMAT Club, and I'm here to welcome you to our MBA application walkthrough series, which is a 6-week series covering applications to top 25 MBA programs. The walkthroughs will continue every Thursday and Friday till September 15th, and we will feature admissions experts and admissions teams going step by step through every aspect of the online application. Before we begin, guys, do subscribe to our channel right now to stay updated and support us in organizing more events. Also, don't forget to smash that like button down below. I will be your host, and in today's walkthrough, we are covering Tuck Business School. Together with me is Christy St. John, who's the senior consultant at Accepted. Christy has helped a lot of students with their MBA applications, so it's definitely great to have her here. Welcome, Christy.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here. I think this is a wonderful program offering that GMAT Club is doing. And I was just telling Abhishek that the club offerings have grown so much in depth and breadth now that you really offer a wealth of information to candidates. So bravo for all the ameliorations and the good programming you're doing.
Thank you. Awesome. Alrighty. I guess we can start with presentation.
All right. Well, I'm here to talk to you about the Tuck application. I was Senior Associate Director at Tuck for almost 10 years. And I have to tell you, my heart is still there. I love Tuck. It was the best experience of my life. So I am not just a little biased, I'm really biased towards Tuck. And it is the kind of school that we used to say a lot of the candidates would self-select to go there because it's very different from the other M7 and M25 schools. It's smaller. It's located in a tiny little town of Hanover, New Hampshire. I think the population's about 6,000 and 3,000 of those are at Dartmouth. So it's tiny. It's lovely. It's wonderful. It's close to Boston and New York, so you're not completely cut off from the world. But because of its location, the people who go to Dartmouth create very strong relationships. And certainly that's true at Tuck, at the business school. You're all there from elsewhere. You're all there undergoing the rigors of the MBA program and how to get into that after you've been working and being your own boss for a while. You're there exploring Hanover, exploring new opportunities, meeting new people. And that is one of the things that makes Tuck more special because it's a small program. Yeah. And the application is designed to find out who you are and whether your values and your personality, your interests combined with those of Tuck. Are you going to be a good fit? Are you going to, and the reason that fit is so important there is because if you're not happy with the program you're in, regardless of what school it is, you're not going to have a good experience. And you won't be as successful as you are if you're a place where you're happy. So that's what Tuck wants to find out. And a lot of schools would say the same thing. We want to know that you know what we have to offer. But as I said, it's especially important at Tuck. So let's get started with the application. I will share my screen here. Make sure this works. All right.
And guys, feel free to ask your questions in the live chat. We will be bringing them up one by one as we're covering each section. So yeah, feel free to do that. And again, reminder, make sure to like this video.
Okay, there it is. Can everybody see this clearly? Yep. All right, so this is the application that starts out. And I started this the other day, so I'm going to click on this and open the application. Pretty straightforward, but one of the things that Tuck asks you to do is to read their blog on the Tuck, how to apply to Tuck on their webpage. This is an incredibly informative site with a wealth of information. I looked over it before I started this particular presentation. And when I was there, we didn't have this. We had lots of little information, things like, this is how to do your resume. This is how to do your essay. But this is really great. So I would encourage everyone who's going to apply to actually go to this site. And I can show you a little bit about what it is. It's the 360 blog. About their essays. What do they want with their essays? About letters of reference, about your admissions interview. So this has just got tons and tons of information. Okay. So definitely go to that site and look at it before you even start the application. The whole application is pretty and you want to click on that, say, yeah, I did do that. So I know what's going on here. And then we'll go on to the next page, which is just statement of honesty. Tuck and most MBA programs that I know of are very, very big on this. They want to know that the material you're submitting is all yours, that you wrote everything. Even if you get help from a consultant, the ideas, the content has to be yours. And they're very strict on this. Same thing goes for your letters of reference. I'll get to that a little bit later, but if your recommender says, oh, you write it and I'll sign it, get another recommender, okay? Data sharing, they also want to ensure that your data is private. However, they like to share your information, maybe your name and your email, with alumni who have similar interests. And that way you can connect with the alumni and the students, but you have to give your permission for that. Otherwise, they will not do it. So we'll go to that one. Well, one thing that was just on that, let me go back really quickly. At the bottom, information about your race and ethnicity is not used as part of the evaluation process and will not be seen by anyone on the admissions committee. That is, of course, the result of the latest Supreme Court decision. So everybody's going to protect you on that bit. All right, personal information. If you go by, your first name, I've got just put in an alias here, Ellen Smith. If you prefer going by your nickname like Ellie, put that in because that's how they'll address all the correspondence to you to make it friendlier and warmer. Mailing address, where are you going to be getting your mail? If you were traveling and you've got it sent to your parents' address, that's what should go there. Whatever your permanent mailing address where you're going to pick up, that's where you go. Email address and phone number. How do you want them to reach you? This is going to be important because later on when they call you and say, you've been admitted, you want to have the right phone number where they can reach you, right? So Be sure that you let them know if it changes and put that in there. Biographical information. This is your typical stuff, sex and gender and that sort of thing. Your birthday, where you were born, blah, blah, native language. If you have more than one citizenship, you can put it in here. Like I have a dual citizenship with France, so I can put that in there. Social security number. This is the race and ethnicity, but this is the part that you will fill in only for data collection for the university. It has nothing to do with your admissions conditions. There. Now, this is on everyone's application. Have you ever pled guilty to a felony or something like that? If that's happened to you, you need to put it in because they do a background check. And if they find it and you haven't put it in, they can deny you and throw out your application right then. All right. All simple stuff. Partner or family. Tuck wants to know this because they have a really strong partners club. They'd like to have your partner's information so that they can reach out to him or her. And as well, if you've got children, they can match you up with people at Tuck who have children. That's why they ask that. And so they're not trying to be nosy. It's just so they can connect with you on a different level. Your parents, I'm assuming that this is, all the applications ask that. It's basically, who's going to be contacted in case of an emergency or something. They also want to know if you have anyone who's applied or who've gone to Tuck in the past. Not important. If you haven't, don't worry about it. Okay. Now, which program are you applying to? Well, Tuck has a lot of joint degrees, which you may or may not know, and they're all listed here. But if you're just applying to the full-time MBA, that's what you click. Okay. And your area of interest, they want to know that again so they can tailor their emails to you. So let's say you want to do, well, I'm going to put what I wanted to do, which would be energy. My background's in energy, so I will put that. And any other things, okay, energy and maybe manufacturing, private equity or something. So you can put anything you want there. Here you're going to put your short-term goals. This is the only place in the application you're going to put this. It's not in the essays. They don't ask you that in the essays. That's a totally different thing. They only give you 50 words. It's sort of like Harvard's. I think they give you 100 characters. They want you to be concise. Think of this as your elevator pitch. If you meet someone from an employer that you would love to work with on an elevator, you have 60 seconds to tell them, this is what I want to do and this is why I can do it. There you go. Put it there. Okay. Same thing with your long-term goals. Now, we know that your long-term goals may change, but that's okay. We want to know that you have a vision, at least for now. Okay. Then, if you are with any of these, you might get some an application waiver, especially if you're a woman and you're in the Forte MBA launch. They want to know that they could consider you for a Forte scholarship, perhaps. MLT, same thing. So all of these, if you've done the Tuck Bridge program, with that, you might get a slight waiver on an application fee waiver. If you've applied to Tuck previously, click there. Then, where did you find out about the school? Why is that? Why do they care? Because they want to know if their advertising's working. Very simple. So just tell them if you heard from an admissions consultant or beat the GMAT or GMAT club or whatever. Put that in, okay? And next, test scores. Yes, they want the GRE or the GMAT. If you've looked at the profile, you'll know what the averages are for those. I believe the GRE average is about 324, and the GMAT, I believe, is 726. But they've taken people with as low as a 610. So don't let the average guide you. Let what the range is, because you're going to be showing other qualities besides your test scores. You need to put that in there and add it here. If you haven't taken it yet, put the date that you will be taking it. Note that your application will not be considered complete, though, until that's in. Okay, your undergraduate degree, I believe they give you up to about 3 or 4, no, only 2 different things, 2 different slots to put your undergrad. So if you've got an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, you'll put that in here when you started, and whether English was the primary language. And this is important for some of the international applicants, because if it was, then you may not have to take the TOEFL or IELTS. Okay. When did you get your degree and what was your major? This is very basic stuff. All right, your GPA. Don't convert your own GPA. If you're on a 10-point scale, put it on the 10-point scale and tell them that that's what it was. It's 100 points to that. If you don't have a class ranking, don't worry about it. You can leave it blank. And you have to upload the transcript for every school that you've attended. So, next one. A little slow, isn't it? Any other schools that you'd gone to? Maybe just for like an associate's degree. I want to get chemistry and calculus out of the way in the summer. I'm going to take that now so I don't have to deal with it when I'm really in school, and it's going to affect my GPA a lot if I don't do well. Put that in there, okay? And you will have to upload the transcript for that as well. Next, if you transferred, again, you have to have the transcript from any school you attended. And that's the reason, because even though you went to an exchange program or you transferred from one university to another, and the courses are on there, your grades might not be. They want to see your grades. That's only going to be on the original transcript, okay? Let's see. Professional certifications. Did you do the CFA or anything like that? Put that in there. That's important. And let's see. Again, this is, have you ever been put on probation for academic reasons? Be honest about this, because they'll find out.
For sure.
Yeah, the employer history, I think, is relatively important as well, because this is different from your resume. And those of you who have done some other applications will know this. Let's show you what they ask. The name of your employer, the organization, category. What does that mean? What kind of firm was it? What were you working in? So I would put, Tenneco, which doesn't exist anymore. Energy. Industry is going to be energy utilities, right? Location was in Houston, Texas, and Texas there, and when I was employed to and from. Starting position, whatever. This is pretty easy. And your function. Now, what does that mean? You have to choose from one of these. Now, mine function was not in any of this because I was like contracts administrator. So I would have to check other.
Mm-hmm.
Your salary. Do list your salary. They're not being nosy. They want to see the progression that you've made.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why that's in there. They don't really, it has nothing to do with whether you're going to get financial aid, has nothing to do with anything. They just want to see, okay, if you started out at $1,500 a month or a year, whatever, depending on where you live, and you increased up to $10,000, that means you were doing something right because they gave you a raise and they liked you. So put that on there. It's really important. Where did you start? Where did you end? Okay. Did you have any direct reports? Even if you only had one, you want to put that because that shows management capabilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't had that yet, that's okay. You can leave it out. They do want to know if it's a family business. Because in a family business, you sometimes wear a lot of different hats.
Yeah.
And you would have a lot wider experience than perhaps someone who is a financial analyst and has been sitting in a cubicle for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's important. Briefly describe what your company does. Remember, this is about you, not your company, so make that brief. What did you do and why you left? If you were laid off, state that because a lot of people have been laid off recently and they know that. Put it in there. All right. I don't really want to say that because I didn't. Yeah. Go to the next one. Other employment. Okay. They obviously want a letter of reference from your current employer if possible. If you are one of these people who are thinking, well, what if I don't get in? I don't want them to know that, I've failed getting in, or B, I'm up for a promotion. If they think I'm going to leave, they won't give me the promotion. So I don't want to ask my supervisor. That's fine. It happens it happens all the time. We're used to that. And if it's not your current supervisor, it should be someone at the company you can trust not to blab about your plans. And if not, maybe a former supervisor who really, really knows you well. So put that in there. They want to know if they're going to be sponsored. A lot of consulting companies do sponsor you. So click that. It doesn't mean it's going to affect your scholarship in any way, though. It just means, oh, if you're being sponsored, your company is really impressed with what you're doing. This is a good thing for you, right? Any gaps? Why do they worry about gaps? Well, what were you doing? Were you just kicking around Australia, surfing? Were you sitting on the sofa watching soap operas and eating bonbons? What happened for this gap? That's what they want to know. And so you're going to have to explain that to a future employer. So start it now. They want to say, okay, do you have a good reason for that gap? Okay, tell us. This is months of full time. It's not years. That used to make us crazy when we would say, how many months do you have? And we'd get somebody who would come up with 5 months. No, you've got 5 years. If you don't know basic math, you probably shouldn't be doing an MBA application. Read the instructions, please. All right. Military service is very important. Schools adore veterans. I was a chief military recruiter for a couple of schools, and if you're a veteran, you definitely want to note that, and we will put you in contact with the Armed Forces Service Group Club at the school, and it also helps us figure out, are you going to be a candidate who's up for yellow ribbon? Very important. All right. Activities. Under this, note that it is undergraduate and post-undergraduate. They give you room for 6 different things, and that's it. So decide what's most important. Start with the thing that you are really, really involved with. If because of COVID you haven't been able to be involved with much over the past couple of years, then look back to something pre-COVID and you can explain that in a note. But you want to have the dates there. A lot of people were able to do online, virtual, nonprofit work, or helping kids learn to read. A lot of things were done virtually rather than in person. So make sure you put that. That's really good experience. When, hours, and what did you do? Then your undergraduate activities. This is where, if you are like most MBA applicants and you are employed and you're busy working 50, 60, 80 hours a week, you may not have time to be doing a whole lot of outside of work right now. We understand that. And what we would look for is, were you involved though when you were in undergrad? So if you were in clubs, if you did nonprofit, if you did community service when you were in undergrad, make sure you put everything there that was important to you. And the reason that this is important is because we want to know that you're going to be an engaged member of our community at Tuck. I keep saying our like I'm there. I'm not there, but I'm sorry. I can't get over that. So that because they don't want people who are just going to be stuck in the library studying the whole time. That's not
Mhm.
being involved. You're not going to get the whole experience that way. So put things that are near and dear to you, what you're interested in, what you've been doing. Okay. Then awards. Again, you have 6 categories for awards. These can be from work, it can be from undergrad. So think about what is going to be the most interesting award. Were you the did you get an academic award for being the highest GPA of any athlete in the program? That's impressive. Did you get an award from your company for achieving the most or making the most impact in a particular quarter? That's important. Put those awards. Sometimes scholarships are good to put there. Uh, do not go back past college, though. If you haven't gotten any awards or done anything spectacular since high school, then shame on you.
Goodness. Oh, well, what if there's something you're super proud of that you have done, like, before college?
Well, then why
Still.
don't you keep it up?
Mm,
Yeah, if you have to go back to high school, I mean, most people, by the time they apply to an MBA program, have been out of high school for 10 or more years, right? That's
mhm,
old stuff.
mm,
If it's an activity that put you on the path to something else, yes, reference it. Like, I
mhm.
started this. I started junior achievement when I was in high school, and I've continued on with it now. Fine.
Mm.
But if you just had one burst of fame when you were in high school and you haven't done anything since then, that's not
Makes sense. Mhm.
terribly impressive. Okay.
Sad.
A good question, though. And that's why nothing from high school should be on your resume either.
Mm, gotcha.
All right. Going through this, now we're getting to the meaty part, the essays.
Mhm.
Tuck has 4 particular values that they run on, that they are looking for in each candidate. And those are being smart, being accomplished, being aware, self aware, and being encouraging, collaborative. And their essays are trying to draw these out from your stories. You will also have a chance to show this. Well, your academics, you will show that in your test scores and your GPA. Your letters of reference might also mention it. Your awards might say, oh, yes, I was, magna cum laude. Okay, that shows us the smart part. The accomplished part, that's going to be both in your resume and your letters of recommendation and in your essays. We want to know what you have done, what results you've achieved. Being self aware is what this first question is all about. Every school is going to ask you, why do you want to do an MBA and why our school? That it's a lot of money, it's a lot of time. And if you're saying, oh, well, I just need to check this off my box, or I can't get my promotion unless I have an MBA, so I'm going to go do it. You really need to have a much more solid reason than that. Think about, what is it that the MBA is going to give you that you don't have now? And there are several things, not just in the classroom, but it's going to give you a new network. It's going to give you resources that you don't know about now. It's going to give you job opportunities that you don't know about now. So, what is it that the MBA is going to do for you? That's one of the first things you need to think about. And the second part is, why Tuck? And this is more crucial to the Tuck application than almost any other school out there. They may disagree, but I'll tell you why. Tuck is small. They only have about 270 students. That's really tiny compared to the other M7 schools. You're in a tiny little area. So you get to know everybody. It's almost impossible to be a wallflower at Tuck. People are going to find you. You're going to have unique qualities to share with everyone. You may not be into snow skiing or tripod hockey, but you've got other skills. That's what they want to know about. What have you seen at Tuck that made you say, yes, this is the place for me? And to do that, you need to compare what Tuck offers with other schools. Don't just copy something from the website that says, oh, I want to be at Tuck because of the small, tight knit community and the cutting edge research by the faculty. You could put any school in that sentence. So you're going to have to do some research, dig down into what is Tuck. And I'm going to give you another resource here. Tuck ambassadors. If you have not connected with the student ambassadors at Tuck or at the other schools that you are applying to, do it now. Don't wait. These students have volunteered. Look at all of them. These students have volunteered to give you information about the school, about their experience there. This is so much more meaningful than copying something off the website.
Mm.
You don't want to have your essay filled with, oh, well, I talked with whoever this is. I can't even see their names on there. I talked with Joe Smith and he told me this, and I talked with Jenny Craig and I talked with Sam Smith. You don't want to list a bunch of names. You want to say, in my conversation with Preeti, she told me about something I didn't know about it, and that was the Energy Club and what they have been doing as far as consulting projects, and especially with sustainability in areas that I'm interested in. And I didn't know about that until I talked with her. So that's why I'm really excited about that.
Mm.
See how this is going to make your application stand out. So go to this page and you can search by regions. If you want to talk to somebody who's from your home country, you can find that. If you want to find somebody who is in different clubs, like, oh, art club, who's there in art? I'm an artist. Let me see these people. What do they do for fun and art? Industry, consulting maybe? Okay. What can you tell me about Tuck and consulting? So these are, and also the centers. River Center for Energy is something that I'm going to want to be interested in because I want to do energy. And they will tell you about that. He's a member of this, okay? This is really a crucial part of your application. Get to know these students. All right. Now, another page that I've bookmarked here is the Tuck 360 blog. If you haven't looked at this, do it. This has information on everything that they want and how to fill out your essays from their point of view. What I'm telling you is what I did, what I do for a living, and what I did when I was at Tuck. And what they're telling you there is the same thing. But in case you don't believe me or in case you don't believe them, then both of us are confirming this is what your essay should do. This is what we're looking for. Don't make up a story and say, well, I don't want to answer that question. This is what I want them to know about me. That's going to get you dinged. We ask the questions for a specific reason. Okay. Anyway, so these are their different criteria. This is absolutely wealth of knowledge there. So back to the essays. Why are you pursuing an MBA now? How will the distinct Tuck MBA? That's why you have to do your research on Tuck. They recommend that half the essay should be about why you want the MBA and half of it should be about Tuck. Note that they are not talking about your goals here. There's nowhere that they ask you about what your goals are, but how will Tuck help you achieve those goals? So you don't need to go into details about that, but do mention it. Say, well, I want to work in sustainability because I've been working in, this nasty oil and gas industry all my life. And I want to get out and do something that's going to help the environment. And I know that you have this center and this center. And that's what I'm really excited about. And I've talked with students who did this. And that's another reason that Tuck is on my list. Does that make sense? Okay. Next essay. Who are you? They're really serious about this. So you are not your job. right? Don't talk about, I am a software engineer and I've done architectural work on the front office and back office systems and I've dealt with clients and blah, blah. That's not
Yeah.
who you are, right? Um, you want to tell them about things that are important to you, what motivates you, what makes you get out of bed in the morning, not related to your job, what gets you excited, what are your hobbies. This is the whole point of this, because I really love what Pat Harrison had to say on the Tuck side. She said Tuck is made up of a tapestry of the collective individuals therein. I think that's a beautiful way of putting it, because everybody's bringing something different. And you might say, oh, well, look, half their class are coming from consulting or financial services. That's true, but they're still all different. Everybody has different backgrounds, different educational backgrounds, different experiences, different hobbies. Um, and that's what they want to know. Who are you, and what in your background will add something different to the collective Tuck community? How will people be able to count on you? What will you bring to the discussion? And this is really, really important, because you are an individual. Okay. Um, Last question is, and I think this is a really important question. When did you meaningfully contribute to someone else's sense of inclusion? All right. We know that the SCOTUS decision has sort of wiped out anything to do with diversity, blah, blah, blah. This has to do with the Tuck value of being encouraging and supportive and collaborative. That's what you want to talk about in this essay. It doesn't have to be a series of events either. Like, oh, from the time I was in Brownies, I saw that there were kids that didn't have a lot of money and they couldn't participate in all the activities, and I didn't think that was fair. Okay, if that's what started you off, fine, but what have you done about it? What did you take up a collection for those people? Did you offer to pay their fees to get into a zoo or the museum? What have you done along the way when new hires come into your group who may not be like everyone else there? They're different for some reason or another. How have you made them feel welcomed? How have you helped your own team members develop and grow? These are really important qualities to most business schools, and certainly, especially to Tuck, because it is one of the most collaborative schools that you will ever be involved with. And it's not just because they're small, but that plays a lot to it. That's what the personality of the school is. We're all here together. We're going to help each other get through it. It's competitive, but in a good way. Okay. Now, the optional essay truly is optional, and they actually tell you when to refrain from using this. You do not have to fill it in. If you want to tell them something about, hey, you're going to notice on my transcript that in my junior year, I had a really big dip, and this is what happened. Someone in my family was ill, or my best friend was killed, whatever it might be. Something bad happened to me that really threw me off, but I overcame that, and you'll see my grades have advanced. It's not a place to give excuses. Oh, I was just immature. Well, what did you learn from that? So
Yeah.
about what you learn, not just giving yourself an excuse. My first time away from home, and I got carried away, and I stayed out and partied all night. Yeah, well, now you regret that, right? And what did you learn from that? So talk about that.
Is it true though? So in a previous session that I did, it was mentioned that like for European schools, it is actually recommended that you go for the optional essays, but for US schools, it's not as mandatory. Is that true?
Yes, I think so. I've
Mhm.
worked with a few European schools, and what they want you to do is anything that might cause them to raise a question about your candidacy. That's what you should put it in there. Don't just skip over it. I mean, this is the place to explain if you've been put on academic probation. What happened?
Mm, interesting.
If you've been accused of a felony, or you got a DUI or DWI, whatever it is in your particular part of the world.
Mm,
If you got caught with drugs, explain what happened and what you learned from that event.
mhm.
Um, So it is a useful place to do it. But again, admissions committees, admissions officers read a gazillion essays. One more is not going to make them happy unless it really has something important to tell them. Just reiterate. Now, I want to tell you again why I want to come to TUP. Well, you should have done that in essay 1. Sorry, I don't want to. We talk a lot behind the scenes, and it's always amazed me how people just simply don't follow instructions. Optional really does mean optional here.
Makes sense. Interesting.
Okay. Next, your references. All right, references. I believe TUC only requires 2. Again, I mentioned earlier that if your recommender says, "Hey, I'm really busy. I don't have time for this," you write it up and I'll sign it. No. Number 1, because the form is online, so they don't need to sign anything. Number 2, they have to answer questions that they are answering themselves based on who you are, what you've done for them. So the best thing to do is take your recommender out for coffee or lunch, take your resume along with you, take a few facts about why you're applying to TUC and what kind of school it is and what they're looking for with you, and take your former personnel evaluations. Your performance evaluations are always good to have, to remind your boss of, hey, remember this thing I did back 2 years ago that really changed the way we do stuff in this particular area now? Will you talk about that, please? And hey, I didn't do so well in my quant classes in undergrad, so could you tell them that I'm really a whiz at doing financial modeling now? This helps make up for the deficiencies in your application somewhere. And let me tell you that if you write that and send it to them and they write it, the schools all have software to detect when somebody else, what computer it's coming from, as well as metadata. If the writing is similar to what you're writing in essays, the software will pick it up.
Interesting.
They've gotten really smart. And a lot of times, if there is a suspicion of fraud, they will actually call your recommender. And I remember a couple of times calling recommenders, and they said, "No, I did not write that letter for this person." And they fired him. In fact, "No, I would not." Like, okay, guess what happened to that person's application? Big deny immediately. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what your GMAT score is. It doesn't matter what anything else in your app. It doesn't matter if you're a legacy person. Nope. You lied, and that's the biggest thing that you can. That's the biggest error you can commit on any application. So
For sure.
Yeah. And of course, you don't want your mother or your father to write it. Hopefully, your mother and father will be kind to you, but sometimes I've seen those when they're not. Well, I always hope my son was really going to be a doctor, and look at him. He's working in the family business. He could have done a whole lot better than that.
But hey, what if it's a family business? What do you do in that situation?
Great question, Sally. If it's a family business, you are kind of constrained as to who you can ask. So in that case, ask a client. Or if there is someone in the company you work with closely who does not report to you, but it's someone you work closely with who's not a member of your family, they could write it. And if you can't find anybody like that, a vendor maybe. Somebody who's worked with you. If you have to buy supplies, if they've worked with you, they know that you're honest and you deal well with people, that sort of thing that they can talk about.
But really no mom and dad involved with
mom or dad or your brother or sister, or your grandmother. Even though they may be the CEO of the company, it's just not good form. And if you can't come up with anybody like that, then you can go outside of work and say, okay, I'm really active in junior achievement or the Kiwanis Club or whatever it might be. I've been doing this for 10 years, so I'm going to get somebody from that organization to write a letter about me. Well, hey, this is a good thing because it shows another side of you. It confirms that you are doing social community service. And it also gives a different perspective on who you are rather than work. But we generally definitely want one from your current or previous employer.
Makes sense.
But the one that's you can go outside of that. We don't. Some schools do. So I shouldn't say this broadly, but we don't really want a professor's evaluation unless you're under the bridge program, because unless you work with them on a really tough research project and they got to know you very well, you were probably in an undergrad class of 100 or more students, and they have no idea who you are.
Mm.
All they're going to tell us is, oh, yes, checking my roster, I see that John made really good grades in my class and turned in his work on time. Well, we don't need to know that. We've got your transcript. So don't kill a tree for nothing. Get somebody who can talk about you and tell us something we don't know about you.
Mm. Makes sense. Okay.
So on the references now, and this is where the optional essay would come in. If you cannot use an outside your current supervisor, this is where you tell them in the optional essay why, briefly. Okay. Now, that you're certifying here that you did everything in this application yourself. Even if you've gotten some outside help, you need to be sure that the ideas are yours because they have your application. At any point in time, they can call you up and ask you about something you put in there. And if you say, I don't remember that part. Oh, really? Tell us the story. Your interviewer will be one of the top second year students, most probably. They will only see your resume. So make sure everything you put on your resume is fact as well, because the students are really sharp. That's why we started using them. They've been in your position. They've worked with the JP Morgans and the McKinseys of the world, and in manufacturing with Kodak or Amazon or whatever, Eastman. They know what your job should look like and the progression. And if they think that you are, let's see, expanding on the truth a bit in your job description, they will call you on it. They'll be nice about it, and you may never even know that's what they've done, but that it will be in their notes. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
What if by some weird coincidence, the person who's interviewing you is someone you might know or have talked to, you know?
Generally, they should disclose that.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, they should. I mean, if it's the case of an admissions officer and you've met them at an MBA fair someplace, or you've talked to them on the phone, or you've met them when you were there, that's a different story. But if it's one of the students and you're good friends with them, or you've developed a relationship with them, they generally will say, "Oh, hey, I've met this person. I know this person." So my opinion might be biased. Somebody else needs to do it.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. Do we have any questions out there in Zoom land?
Yes, of course. I'll start bringing them up. I mean, you were just making, you were doing this so well. I didn't want to sort of interrupt you.
Well, we're pretty much to the end of it. Just the last thing is review it. And definitely, you see, mine has got all these things on there because I didn't fill anything out. It's going to tell you when you've left something out. So you go to that section and do it. Make sure that you go over and make sure the typos are right. And this is really crucial. Make sure that your dates for your employment and your education are right. Because I've had so many things when it comes up on our spreadsheet and it will show date of graduation 2023. And I'm thinking, what? You're 30 years old. What do you mean? You just graduated? What is this? Were you in the military or what happened here? And then when oh, no, you just put this year's date in there by accident. It doesn't mess up the record. So go over all those dates, things. Go over your the currency that you're using for your employment history. Okay. So
makes sense.
We'll go.
Guys, before I take up the questions, if you're watching, just please like the video. All right, it will take you 2 seconds. And yeah, thank you so much, guys. All right, I'll take up the first question. So Written asked, Is the executive assessment score accepted for full-time MBA? If so, is 155 a competitive score?
That depends on the individual schools. I did not see anywhere at Tuck that they accept that. They talk about the GMAT and the GRE. However, at other schools, a 155 is a very good score. I believe the average for most schools is around 150, so that's good. And there is a list. If you Google it, you will get a list of the schools that accept the EA. I mean, I have my own personal list, but that's a different program, so we'll stick to Tuck right now.
No problem. All right, next question.
Mhm.
If your long-term goal is something like getting into a reputed consumer goods company like Nike, is it okay to call that out? I've spoken to some alums who have said that these jobs are quite hard to get.
That is true. That's why you have to do a little work before you start talking about your goals. I always tell my clients, look, say, oh, I want to work for a top tier consumer goods company. Well, I wouldn't expect you to want to work for a really crummy one, would I? No, I'm not saying anything. Tell me what kind of position you want. Tell me what kind of skills that you have that might get you there before you get the MBA. And if you know people who work at Nike or wherever it is that you're looking to work, say, I've talked with people at Nike. I have a couple of friends who work there, and they've given me some insider information. And I know this is going to be a really hard job to get, but I'm ready to do the work to get it. I'm ready to do the networking that I need to do.
Makes sense.
And you're going to have to prove that you have the skills that they're looking for too. So if you want to work with Nike, I always, as one of my exercises with my clients, I tell them to go out and look at the job descriptions on the Amazon site, because it seems like everybody wants to be a product manager for Amazon. Well, A, they're all being laid off now. And B, everybody wants to do it. What kind of product do you want to manage? What does Amazon need? What are they looking for? You might not have it. So that's going to make, if you're as specific as possible with your career goals, whether they're long-term or short-term, this is going to make you look like you've done the research necessary, and you actually should do the research. This is going to contribute to your self-awareness profile. It's we know that you're probably going to change your mind, but for the time being, we want you to have a focus. And if you change your mind once you get there, that's okay. That's what we expect you to do. You're going to find out opportunities you don't even know exist now. But we want you to be able to start with the recruiting, because it starts about the second week in school. Companies start coming on campus, and you don't have time to go to every single company that visits. So you've got to make your choice. Okay, I'm going to focus on consumer goods and brand management, and maybe one other thing. I'm going to leave all the consulting and the finance jobs out there. But as it turns out, if you suddenly get interested in finance, you still have time to go and look at those. But remember, you've got homework to do. You've got group meetings. You've got team meetings. You've got meetings with faculty. You've got, a little fun now and then, as well as just a lot of work to do. So you don't have time to go to these all the time. So we're trying to get you focused for your own good.
Okay. I'll bring up the next question. How do people recruit at Tuck if it is so remote? Are there many employers that come on campus?
Very good question. And yes, number one, every single alum who has ever been at Tuck, wherever they are in the world, will come there to recruit. They can't wait to get back.
Oh,
I mean, they will beg their companies, hey, let me go, I'll go. Other companies come up there. It's not that hard to get to. There is an airport there, tiny, but yes, there is a definite connection, direct connection from Boston and New York. Not a problem. You can get to Boston in a couple of hours, and New York in about 3 hours by train or plane or car. Employers love Tuck students because they know that they're down to earth, they're honest, they are smart, they're accomplished. They're all these values that Tuck promotes. We had, I don't know, probably anywhere from 5 to 10 recruiters on campus almost every day. at different points of the year, of course. They don't come during exams, and they don't come during the first few weeks because they want you to be able to find your locker and at least go to 1 or 2 classes so you know what you're talking about when you chat with them. But they're there all the time. There are particular MBA career fairs too that Tuck participates in. So that is not a problem. If you look on the career page, and again, this is something you should do for every single school you're looking at, go to their career page, find out what companies come there. They will tell you how many companies they work with. Okay. Okay. If it's a company that you really want to work with, like Nike, that doesn't come there, that's a good question to ask. Say, I really want to work for Nike, but I notice that they don't recruit there. Can you put me in touch with any alums who work there so that I could chat with them? Yeah, of course.
Makes sense. Okay. I'll bring up the next question. Will 13 years of work experience with PGDM be fit for a 1-year residential MBA program?
Yes. That's a lot of work experience right now, but for a regular full-time MBA program, it's probably too much. They generally cut off at about 8 to 10 years maximum. And the reason is because the companies coming to employ you are looking for not entry-level positions, but mid-level positions. And with 13 years experience, the company's going to look and say, you've been working too long. You're going to expect too high a salary, or you have probably gotten set in your ways, and I don't know that we're going to be able to train you to do things our way. So they're not going to like that. Tuck, however, does not have a 1-year residential program, so the question is moot for Tuck. But you should probably look at an executive program.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, next question. Selena says, I've got many promotions in my job. How do I showcase that other than the base and end salary?
Well, if you are, as you're doing your resume, if it's all with the same company, I'm going to assume it is, then each promotion you would have a line, your new title, you started out as an intern, and then you got promoted to an assistant, whatever, and then to an associate, whatever, and then to a director or a senior vice president or whatever. You would show your title change as well as the salary change. And you do not want to have the same information under your bullets. So the more promotions you have about 2 bullets under each one of those things showing your increase in your responsibilities.
Gotcha. Okay. Next question. If you do speak with a Tuck ambassador or multiple, how many sentences should you dedicate in your application essays referencing your conversation with the said person or people?
That's a really good question. As I said, you don't want to just name drop, but you can say, I spoke with several of the ambassadors because I was really curious about their experiences there. And 2 in particular struck me because I learned something about Tuck that I didn't know, or they reassured me that the thing I'm interested in, I can do it there. So 1 or 2 names, that's about it.
The same person did ask, how closely does Tuck track and weigh the interactions that each applicant has had with Tuck? Examples, visiting Tuck's diversity conference, reaching out to and speaking to Tuck ambassadors, etc.
Most of the schools have application software that tracks every interaction you have with someone. So it's not just Tuck. How much they weigh it depends. At the end of the day, if it's between you and some other candidate and you have attended 5 or 6 events and the other person has not, they're going to assume that you have more interest in Tuck than the other person, and they will weigh your application more heavily. It doesn't mean that it's going to be the only thing that gets you into the school, and it's certainly not going to be what keeps you out of the school either. But it could be a factor if everything else is equal between you and some other candidates.
Gotcha. Okay. Also, we've got like another 5 minutes and another 5 questions. So a minute per question here. Cool. Okay, another question. In junior college, 11th grade, I represented India in an international robotics contest. I didn't pursue robotics after, but it inspired me to pursue a career in tech marketing. Can I mention this?
You could mention it in your essay as to how you started out on this goal, but don't put a lot of emphasis, don't spend a lot of words on it. Just say, this is this is where my story started. And then
Mm.
11th grade, I was in a robotics contest. I mean, did you win or were you just in it? You might mention that, but say, and from there, my interest in technology was ignited. Um,
Mm.
and then you go in and say, and then I did this, and now I've done this, and now I've done that, and I need the MBA to help me do this. I want to go farther.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you can mention it, but don't waste a lot of print on it because it's so long ago.
Makes sense. Okay. All right. Next one. What's the first thing or the most important thing that I need to ask to the student ambassador? And he also mentioned one more bit where he said, how many of them do I need to reach?
Well, you don't want to become known as the pest. I mean, we've all had. I can remember several instances where one student will reach out to every single admission staff member with the same question. Would do the same thing with the ambassadors, and we talk to each other. So you don't want to be that person. What you want
Mhm.
to do is on this list. All right, you've got. Let me go back and get him off there. Oh, whoops, sorry. Well, now I did it wrong. Anyway, the ambassadors are there with their regions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. There, okay. It has their region, their activities, the clubs they're involved with. That's who you want to talk to. If you say, if like I said, I'm interested in the energy industry, so I'm going to look for people who are in the energy club. I want to see somebody who is working with the Rivers Energy Center. If I'm an entrepreneur, I want to see, okay, who here is an entrepreneur? If I'm from Indonesia, I'm gonna say, oh, is anybody from Indonesia that I can say, how was your transition to Tuck? What did you notice that was really strange there? Did you have any trouble? Are they welcoming? You can ask them all kinds of things like that. Don't ask them or any of the admissions people, even in your interview, anything that you can find out for yourself on the web page. That's a waste of an opportunity. What you want to do is find out, when you first got there, what was the most unexpected thing that you found out? What professor do you think is the best for brand management? Probably going to say Kevin Keller, but still. Um, or which professor do you think is the best one to help guide me on my entrepreneurial path because I'm interested in different things? Which professor or which class is going to be the most valuable to me? What do you wish you'd known before you got there? So this is all going to be personal things that you're trying to find out that will give you a better idea of whether Tuck is the right place for you, whether you are going to be a good fit for them, um, whether you're investigating here. So play the detective. So what do you really like it? What don't you like about it there? What's
Okay.
the most fun thing you've done there? What clubs are you in? What do the clubs really do? What's the point?
Mm,
It's tons of questions.
exactly. Okay, cool. Two more questions left. The first one would be, as an international student, is there anything that one should be aware of?
Well, you want to apply as early as possible so that you can get your visa because I know some of my candidates from India last year had issues getting their visa if they were admitted late or
Mhm.
taken off the wait list and they didn't get there in time for school to start. So that's really unfortunate and sad. So apply early. Find out whether you are required to take TOEFL or not. Generally, if your undergrad was conducted in English, you will not have to. Or if you have worked in an English speaking country for more than 2 years, you won't need to. Although I did come across a school the other day that is requiring one of my candidates to take the TOEFL, and he's been in the US for 5 years. Anyway, that's school specific. So I think that Tuck is very, very welcoming. They have a lot of international global projects that you might look into where you could say, oh, I could contribute to this. If you ever come to my country, I can tell you about this. It will also, they do international days where they celebrate with food festivals and that sort of thing, which is great fun. So you will be welcomed and included in the community. And I think the funniest thing I ever saw were some of my students from Mumbai who had to learn how to do tripod hockey. And if you don't know what that is, you better find out from an ambassador before you apply to Tuck because it's important.
Nice. Okay. Noted. But what is tripod hockey?
It's for those who don't know how to ice skate. If you go, you pretty much have to play hockey. And there's a big pond out there that they play on. And tripod hockey is when you use your hockey stick to help you skate around.
Interesting.
And everybody does it. It's great fun. Yes, you will make a fool out of yourself, but that's what's fun about it.
Awesome. Okay. And we got our last question here. Does Tuck accept students who have done a prior master's in management?
Generally, no reputable accredited MBA program will take someone with a previous MBA. Now, some of the degrees are more or less like MBAs and some are not at all like MBAs. So what you'll need to do before you even decide to apply is get your transcript, send it in to one of the admissions officers and say, hey, I have a master's in management that I got right when I was out of undergrad. I had no business experience, and these are the courses that I took. Am I eligible to apply? And they will tell you right then and there if you can or not. If you already have what's called an MBA, even if it's only a one-year MBA, though, not. But a master in management, that's a little bit different. That's a different thing. It's on a different level.
Okay. I guess that's mostly it. We managed to answer all the questions. Is there anything you'd like to mention, in our last minute here?
Well, first of all, I want to thank the GMAT Club for inviting me to do this. I hope that the information was helpful. And again, kudos to you all for presenting this kind of program, which helps the students out there. A lot of people can't afford to hire consultants. I understand that. And so this kind of program will help people who get another step up. And I really like that. That's why I volunteered to do this. I yes, I want to help the people who can't afford the fees of our company. But at the same time, be honest with yourself when you're applying and choosing the schools that you want to apply to. Don't just say, I'm going to apply to the top 7 ranked schools. It's not a good reason. Not everybody is cut out for Harvard. Not everybody's cut out for Stanford. Not everybody's cut out for Tuck. You are going to find the right school for you. You just have to do some research. And no matter where you go, and remember, there are over 5,000 MBA programs out there in the world. If a school is in the top 100, that says something. Out of it, what you put into it. So if whatever school you go to, you're going to learn something, and it will absolutely be of value to you. I can't emphasize the fact that the MBA is the most useful degree that you can ever have. You can do anything with it. Maybe brain surgery, but even with that, you'd know who to hire.
Makes sense. Alrighty, well, this was awesome, quite insightful. I feel like even I learned a lot about Tuck Business School. So yeah, this is amazing. Thank you so much, Christy, for doing this. It was lovely having you here.
Thank you. And I have to put in a plug for accepted.com. If you would like to work with me on your Tuck application or any other schools, please contact me through accepted.com. Thank you again for having us.
Awesome. And guys, this will be saved right after this, so feel free to comment whatever you'd like in the comment section down below. Awesome. All righty.
Thank you for your great questions and for masterminding this session.
Most welcome. Cheers.
Bye-bye.